joining us today on India Roundup. This is Chandni Krishnan bringing you the top national news headlines of the week. India and China reach a 5-point consensus to ease the border situation. External Affairs Minister Jaishankar asked his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi to avoid any action that could escalate matters. Jaishankar raised the issue of provocative behavior on the part of Chinese frontline troops on various occasions, which showed their disregard for bilateral pacts. India highlighted that Indian troops have been adhering to all agreements and protocols. In contrast, the Chinese side has so far failed to justify its deployment of troops with equipment along the line of actual control. Parliament resumes for the first time after the start of the pandemic. Issues like the record rise in COVID-19 numbers in the country and China's show of aggression at the border are expected to dominate the session, with lawmakers grilling the government on their handling of the multiple crises. India's drastic economic slowdown is also expected to feature heavily in debate. In a rare move, the question hour has been suspended, depriving the opposition of the chance to address questions to the ministers directly. The current session will take up 11 bills to replace existing ordinances and legislation and is scheduled to end on October 1st. Punjab, farmers protest the central government's farm ordinances. Hundreds of farmers under the banner of the Kisan Sangharsh Committee laid siege to 3 bridges in Amritsar, Tarn Taran and Gurdaspur districts, leaving hundreds of commuters stranded for hours. Their demand was that the centre should immediately revoke the 3 agriculture ordinances, which they called anti-farmer and anti-people. They also exhorted the opposition parties to strongly oppose the unpopular ordinances that aim to include private players in agriculture, which the farmers argue will bring about corporate dominance. The draft National Digital Health Mission policy lacks clarity on patient control over data, say experts. The NDHM aims to implement one of the world's largest centralized digital identity projects, but the current draft to manage patient health data under the NDHM seems inadequate, as it makes it difficult for patients who volunteer for the digital health IDs to have full control over how their data is used. Some of the concerns raised by various experts are: the definition of a consent manager is not clear enough in the current policy to understand whether the role will be played by a private firm, NGO, or government body. There is no remedy mechanism and enforcement structure to prevent law enforcement agencies from accessing pharmacy records. With respect to erasure, even if a patient withdraws their consent, personal data may not always be erased. Farooq Abdullah arrives for the Monsoon Session in his first Delhi visit since Jammu and Kashmir's special status was withdrawn. The National Conference president was under detention during the last 2 sessions. Sources say that the veteran politician from the Kashmir Valley is keen to raise the Jammu and Kashmir issue during this session. A COVID-19 vaccine likely by the first quarter of 2021. Union Minister Dr. Vardhan said that once ready, the vaccine would be made available to people who need it the most, regardless of ability to pay. He also offered to take the first dose if needed to allay people's fears about the vaccine. Madras High Court judge seeks contempt proceedings against actor Surya. Surya's comment that though justice is provided through video conferencing due to fear of COVID, the judges have told the students to appear for the NEET exams in person and write them is what set the judge off. In the new defense policy that hikes FDI to 74%. Foreign investment in the defense sector shall be subject to scrutiny on ground of national security, and the government reserves the right to review any foreign investment in the defense sector that may affect national security, says the new condition. National Commission for Homeopathy Bill and the National Commission for Indian System of Medicine Bill passed in Parliament. These bills will facilitate the maintenance of a medical register of homeopathy and Indian system of medicine and enforce high ethical standards in all aspects of medical services. UP farmers headed to Delhi to protest recent farm ordinances stopped. They were stopped at the Delhi-UP border and asked to send their representatives to talk to the authorities. That brings us to the end of today's episode. Thank you so much for watching. Stay well and safe, and we'll see you again next week.